Hey guys, it's Chris. From shopaholics to straight up lunatics, here are 10 of the dumbest lottery winners ever. Number 10, Michael Carroll. Michael Carroll purchased a lottery ticket at the age of 19 and won the $9.7 million jackpot in the year 2002. That's a lot of money to win at the age of 19. And while to somebody sensible, winning around $10 million at the age of 19 would mean he'd be set for life, Michael is now 36 and working 7 days a week after he blew the entire fortune. And to make things even worse, Michael Carroll is now a coal delivery man working in Scotland. And while at first that may seem unfortunate, Michael told local news outlets that he's actually happier than he's ever been. After milking all that money for 10 years of fun, the funds finally run out. Michael blew the entirety of his money on booze, ladies, some illicit substances, and his friends. He became a hardcore drinker, spending so much of his time in foreign places doing foolish drunken things that his marriage was brought to a swift end. And this is incredibly unfortunate because the woman he was married to at the time was 7 months pregnant when Michael won the lottery. Besides losing his wife, he gave away roughly $4 million right away, with $1 million to his mother, $1 million each to his aunt and uncle, then $1 million to his ex-wife. By 2012, he was broke and kicked out of all of the pubs in his area. He then moved to Scotland, where he now rents a small apartment by himself and walks to work. Number 9, Americo Lopez. Americo Lopez is the typical greedy scumbag. He and his co-workers in a construction company in New Jersey had been taking part in a lottery pool since 2007. In 2009, Lopez discovered that he had the winning ticket in his hand. But rather than willingly share the $38.5 million with his colleagues, he claimed he purchased the winning numbers on his own and not as part of the company pool. As you can imagine, his coworkers were pretty upset about this, and they absolutely took Mr. Lopez to court. The jury then decided that Lopez would pay each of his coworkers a pre-tax of $2 million. He actually got off really easy. All of his coworkers testified against him, including people who were not part of the lottery pool. They all claimed that he was given money to purchase tickets on the day that he purchased the winning ticket. The big issue here is that nobody could say for certain whose money was used in the buying of the winning ticket. So Lopez got off easy. He walked away with around $20 million, which he should have had much less of. In the end, Lopez turned out to be not quite as stupid of a lottery winner as he was just kind of a jerk. He actually ended up winning more money than he was supposed to, though now he probably doesn't have any friends. Number 8, Tonda Dickerson. Tonda Dickerson was working in an Alabama Waffle House when her life changed forever. The year was 1999, and one of her customers gave her a lottery ticket as a tip. At the time, Dickerson was a divorced woman in her late 20s. A week after she got the lottery ticket for a tip, she won the $10 million Florida lottery. That's a pretty generous tip for just serving somebody a plate of waffles. But rather than take the lump sum, she decided to take $375,000 for 30 years. She thought she would never have to work again. However, she quickly found herself stuck in a whole bunch of legal battles. All of a sudden, everybody thought they had a claim to the money. Her colleagues tried to take the money from her in court, saying that because the lottery ticket was part of a tip, that it should be shared equally. Even the guy who gave her the lottery ticket as a tip tried to claim the money for himself like a greasy little weasel, who she had divorced 2 years earlier, but was shot while trying to kidnap her. Her ex-husband stole her, drove her to a boat launch, but Dickerson managed to reach into her purse and pull out her gun and shoot him in the chest before he got her onto the boat. In the end, it's unclear how much money she got away with, but there have been reports that all these years later, Dickerson is working somewhere in a casino as a poker dealer. Have you ever played the lottery? Did you ever win anything? Or do you know anyone who's ever won big playing the lottery? What's their story like? Tell me some of your own personal experiences with gambling in the comments below. Then be sure to subscribe to World List for more amazing videos just like this one. Number 7, Evelyn Marie Adams. You would think that after somebody won the lottery the first time, they would stop buying lottery tickets. But a woman named Evelyn Marie Adams won the New Jersey State Lottery one year, then hit the jackpot again the next year for a total of $3.9 plus $1.4 million. This was back in 1986, and nobody has had such amazing luck since. According to the original New York Times article, the odds of this happening to Evelyn were 1 in 17 trillion. It's like hitting red in roulette 400 times in a row. And while it might seem like winning the lottery twice would make you set for life, the government always gets their greedy little fingers in there. The government actually surprised Evelyn with a massive tax bill for the remaining 30% of what they were owed, as they initially only took 20% of her winnings. I won't get started on the fact that the government taking 50% of someone's lottery winnings is completely ridiculous, but in any case, Evelyn spent the majority of her money on travel, became a professional gambler, tried to win back the money she lost from taxes, and according to CBS News, now lives in a trailer park and works for a food services company. Even winning the lottery twice can't stop a person from going broke. Number 6. Willie Hurt. Willie Hurt won the lottery in 1989. He won $3.1 million in the Michigan Super Lotto draw. But after only 2 years, Willie was not only broke, he was also accused of killing a human being. He was arraigned in September of 1991 on open murder charges for the death of Wendy Elizabeth Kimmy, who'd been shot in the head. The woman's body had been found on the floor of a hotel in a rooming house where Willie had been renting a room for several weeks. Even though he was the winner of a lottery jackpot, he was still living in a rooming house. This was because Willie spent all of his money on drugs and alcohol. Apparently, Willie and Wendy had gotten into an argument because Willie was angry that they'd run out of their illicit substances. And the argument ended with Wendy dead on the floor. Willie allegedly signed a confession, but unfortunately, we have no idea what happened to him. After the initial argument, not a single news source had any interest in Willie Hurt. Nobody has any idea what happened to him, but it's safe to say he spent a significant amount of time behind bars. Number 5. Billy Bob Harrell Jr. Billy Bob won the lottery in June of 1997. He won $31 million from the Texas Lottery. At the time, Billy Bob had been stocking the shelves at his local hardware store and struggling to provide for his wife and their 3 children. Normally, when he bought lottery tickets, Billy Bob used the birthdays of his children. But on the day he won, he claimed that he let the computer do the picking instead. Then he agreed to take his winnings annually, earning $1.4 million. Billy Bob purchased a ranch, other homes for his family members, new cars for himself, his wife, and his children, and he donated a generous amount of cash to his church. Unfortunately, money never turns out to be a very good thing. Everyone he knew wanted money from him, and Billy Bob apparently spent way too much of his winnings. He divorced his wife and married a younger woman, and then he died under mysterious circumstances. At the time of his death, Billy Bob didn't even have enough money left to pay the estate taxes on his house. Before his unfortunate demise, he told his financial advisor that winning the lottery was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. And so let this be a lesson for all of us. Money definitely doesn't buy happiness. Number 4. Luke Petard. Imagine working at McDonald's, winning the lottery, and then going back to work at McDonald's. This seems like something out of a person's worst nightmare, but according to Luke Petard, he went back to work at McDonald's because he got bored. This guy won over $2 million at the young age of 23, then claimed that he got bored of shopping and spending time with his family and was having more fun earning a small wage at McDonald's. This guy lives in Wales in the United Kingdom, and one of his other complaints was that he simply began getting too fat because he stayed at home all day eating with nothing to do. In fact, Luke went on working for 6 weeks after he won the lottery, and he would have continued on if it hadn't been for all the customers hassling him about staying at his minimum wage job when he was a millionaire. The biggest thing that has changed since Luke went back to the same McDonald's branch is that now he takes a taxi to work and back instead of walking. Oh yeah, and he has a Rolex and a really big house. Number 3. William Post III. William Post III won $16.2 million from the lottery. He also died many years later due to respiratory failure, apparently with a heart full of despair. He had not had a great life between winning the lottery in 1988 and dying in 2006. Just 5 years after winning the Pennsylvania lottery, William told news sources that nobody realizes the nightmare that can come from all that money. However, these problems are not universal. For example, William had a brother who tried to hire a contract killer to murder him and his sixth wife. He also had a landlady who forced him to give her a third of his jackpot. Plus, Williams was convicted of an assault charge after he shot a gun at a man trying to collect debt from his home in Pennsylvania. Then he went bankrupt and at the very end had just $1 million. And of course, William spent that as well before going 100% broke. Keep in mind that William really did create this nightmare for himself. Within 3 months of winning the lottery, he was $500,000 in debt. Then he purchased a mansion, 2 Harley-Davidson motorcycles, a luxury camper, a sailboat that cost nearly $300,000, several cars, a few houses, and of course the traditional giant pickup truck. And these things can add up, especially when your ex-landlady stole a third of your winnings. Number 2. Vivian Nicholson. In 1961, Vivian Nicholson was 25 years old, divorced, a mother to 3 children, and she worked in West Yorkshire making only around $5 a week. However, everything changed in just one day. Her and her second husband, who at the time had been a miner, won roughly $5 million worth of today's currency. When asked by a journalist at the time what she would do with all that money, Vivian said she would spend, and this actually rocketed her to fame. In the United Kingdom, she earned an instant 15 minutes in the spotlight. Everyone in the country seriously envied her, but then things took a turn. She spent the money, drank the money, and within 4 years, she had no money left. She also didn't have a husband anymore because he died after losing control of a Jaguar he'd purchased with all that money. Now her husband was dead and Vivian had a horrible drinking problem and no more money to drink with. Rather than being envied by the nation, she was now absolutely despised. And where do these types of people go? Well, Vivian became a stripper in a nightclub. And it gets even weirder. She allegedly moved to Malta, was deported after hitting a police officer, was placed inside of a mental home back in England to escape her third husband, and finally became a Jehovah's Witness. Vivian Nicholson then died after being crippled by dementia in 2015. But hey, you can't say she didn't live a colorful life.